Welcome students. Let us start now with question number 7. A note on fields of testes. Histology of testes. So these two questions are one and the same. Fields of testes or histology of testes. TS word stands for transverse section. So here we need to know the transverse section of testes. In transverse section, as you can see here in the diagram, testis shows a middle layer. Only the middle layer you can see here called tunica albuginea. It shows a middle layer called tunica albuginea. Here you can see this is the middle layer. Outer to tunica albuginea is tunica vaginalis. Now here these two layers, vaginalis and vasculosa. These two layers are not seen here in the diagram. Outer is a peritoneal covering. Now this word we may come across in the further chapters as well. Peritoneum. Peritoneum is a covering which is present as an outer lining of every delicate organ of our body. So here the testis shows a peritoneal covering called tunica vaginalis, which is present outer to tunica albuginea. Now inner to tunica albuginea is tunica vasculosa. The term vasculosa means it shows vascular layer. Vascular layer is the layer which has numerous blood vessels present in it. Point number 3. Now this tunica albuginea, it divides the testis into many testicular lobules. Lobules means partitions. And each lobule you can see further it shows 1 to 4 highly coiled seminiferous tubules. So these are the seminiferous tubules or spherical structures are seminiferous tubules. Now inside each seminiferous tubule, you can see there are numerous different parts present. Like each seminiferous tubule is lined by cuboidal epithelial cell, and this cuboidal epithelial cells are called germinal epithelial cells. Now wherever there are germinal epithelial cells, you need to know that there is growth. So here again, germinal epithelial cells, they divide by mitosis and produce many spermatogonia. Here you can see the production of spermatogonia. In between the germinal epithelial cells, there are conical cells, and these conical cells are called Sertoli cells or known as substentacular cells. You can just say they are Sertoli cells. Germinal epithelium shows stages of spermatogenesis. Now, spermatogenesis is the process of production of sperms, which we are going to study later on. Here you can see different stages of spermatogenesis like spermatogonium, primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte, spermatid, and spermatozoa. Now, what about the Sertoli cells? These Sertoli cells provide nourishment for the development of sperm. Sperms के डेवलपमेंट के लिए न्यूट्रिशन उन्हें मिलता है सर्टोली सेल्स से. So sperm development takes place over here, and these Sertoli cells provide nutrition for the development of sperm. So this is all about TS of testes. Here I need to tell you one more point which you can or may not include in your answer. See, you can see there are Leydig cells or interstitial cells. These Leydig cells are present in between the seminiferous tubules, and Leydig cells are meant to produce male reproductive hormone testosterone. I repeat, male reproductive hormone testosterone is being produced by Leydig cells or interstitial cells of testes. Now next question is female reproductive system. Here with the TS of testes, we complete with the male reproductive system, and now this is female reproductive system. This is a diagram for female reproductive system. The parts which you can see here in the female system are all internal parts or internal genitalia. The parts of external genitalia are not seen here in the diagram. I repeat, the parts of internal genitalia are shown here in this diagram. Parts of external genitalia are not seen in this diagram. So in detail, we need to explain both external as well as internal genitalia in the female reproductive system. Now here in this diagram, let us denote the parts. First, internal genitalia. The first part of internal genitalia is pair of ovaries. You can see pair of ovaries present on either side, both the sides of uterus. Second part is pair of oviducts. These are the ducts or the tubes called as oviducts or fallopian tubes. These are the tubes which are connected from ovary to uterus. Then the third part is uterus. Next to uterus is the fourth part which you can see here is vagina. Fourth part is vagina. Then comes external genitalia which altogether is called as vulva. Then a pair of vestibular gland. There is only one associated gland with the female reproductive system and that is called as vestibular gland. Next to this is a pair of mammary glands. Even mammary glands are included in the female reproductive system as external genitalia. Now let us start with the first part of internal genitalia, that is pair of ovaries. Ovary is the primary female sex organ. You can see that the shape of the ovary is oval or almond shape. These parameters are of not that important, but still you have to know it's 3 centimeter in length, 1.5 centimeter in breadth, and 1 centimeter in thickness. Now, what is the location of the ovary? You can see ovary present in the pelvic region near the kidneys. Each ovary is held in position by ligaments. Now, here in the diagram, you can see that the ovary here is being attached to the uterus and also attached on the backside to the body wall. So here ovary is attached to the uterus by ovarian ligament and ovary attached to the body wall by suspensory ligament. So ovary you can see here is being attached to the uterus by ovarian ligament and abdominal wall by suspensory ligament. A fold of peritoneum. Now here again we come across the term peritoneum. So peritoneum of ovary will be holding the ovary, oviduct and the uterus to the dorsal body wall. Now what is the function of ovary? The main function of ovary is production of egg or ovum, which is a female gamete. Then it also produces female reproductive hormones like estrogen, progesterone, relaxin, activin and inhibin. I repeat, female reproductive hormones, estrogen, progesterone, relaxin, activin, and inhibin. These are the female reproductive hormones which are produced by the ovary. Now let us see structure and the development of ovary. Here, as we know, every delicate organ of the body has got two parts, outer cortex and inner medulla. Same as here with the ovary as well. Ovary has got an external part called as cortex and internal part known as medulla. The medulla region shows a loose connective tissue or stroma. And in this loose connective tissue, there are many blood vessels, lymph vessels, and nerve fibers, where they are present in the medulla. The outer cortex region that shows number of ovarian follicles. Now, how these ovarian follicles are formed? These ovarian follicles are collectively formed from the immature ova or the egg, which is initially present in the endoderm of the yolk sac and later on in the ovary. Now, as in the testes, we have studied that testes initially they are present in the abdomen and later on they are descended in the scrotum. Same way, here the production of ovum starts before the birth of the female child in the endoderm of the yolk sac, and later on during its fetal development, it comes in the ovary. So in short, you can say that formation of oogonia, that is the egg, takes place before the birth of the female child. The cells migrate to the gonadal ridge during the embryonic development. Gonadal ridge is the ovary. And when they come in the ovaries, you can see they divide mitotically to form many oogonia. Now, all these oogonia will start their development in the ovary itself, and that too before the birth of the female child. Initially, oogonium is surrounded by a layer of granulosa cells, and here it starts with the process of oogenesis. By the end of the 12 weeks of the fetal development, the ovary is fully formed. Now it has more than 2 million primordial follicles in it. But during the growth period, many primordial follicles they're destroyed. So this destruction of the primordial follicles during the growth is called atresia. This atresia process takes place till the female child reaches puberty, that is, till the female child reaches the age of maturity. The development of the primordial follicle into Graafian follicle restarts with the onset of puberty, that is, when the female child reaches the age of about 12 to 14 years, menstrual cycle or menarche starts. During each menstrual cycle, one of the primordial follicles starts growing into a mature Graafian follicle. I repeat, only after the puberty, every month during each menstrual cycle, one primordial follicle will start developing into a mature Graafian follicle. Now, if you consider the first menstrual cycle starts at the age of 13 years, you call it as menarche, and it ends at the age of 45 to 55 years called as menopause. So this period which takes place between the menopause and the menarche, that period is called as the reproductive age of the female, and it's approximately considered to be 32 years. In this time, the female will be producing maximum of about 416 eggs. So on an average, if you see that 13 menstrual cycles take place in a year and total reproductive span is 32 years, so approximately a female can produce 416 eggs in entire reproductive age. So this is all about the ovaries. Now come to the next part of the internal genitalia, that is oviduct, fallopian tube or uterine tube. As we have seen there in the diagram, these fallopian tubes or the oviducts are a pair of muscular ducts or the tubes which are lying horizontally over the peritoneal cavity. If you don't remember this term, you can say that these are pair of muscular ducts arising from the ovaries and extended up to uterus. That is, they open in the uterus. These tubes are nearly 10 to 12 centimeter in length and internally lined by ciliated epithelium. That's a very important point, that fallopian tubes are internally lined by ciliated epithelium. Fallopian tube has been divided into three regions. The first funnel-shaped region is called infundibulum. Now here you can see this in the diagram, that a funnel-shaped part of fallopian tube is known as infundibulum. This is a funnel-shaped part. This infundibulum at its anterior tip shows finger-like projections called as fimbriae. This fimbriae has got a hole called as ostium, and through this ostium the ovum from the ovary can enter the fallopian tube. So this funnel-shaped part is called infundibulum, which is provided with the fimbriae. The ovum from the ovary enters the fallopian tube through the ostium present on the fimbriae. The ciliated epithelium of the fallopian tube will help pushing the ovum up to the second part of the fallopian tube called as ampulla. Cilia pushes the ovum up to ampulla of the fallopian tube. Now, ampulla of the fallopian tube is the central part where the fertilization of ovum takes place. Ovum fertilizes with the sperm in this region. Third part is isthmus. Isthmus is the large part or the proximal distal part of the fallopian tube which opens in the uterus. Now the third part is uterus. Uterus is the central part as we have seen in the diagram. It's hollow, muscular, pear-shaped organ which is present above and behind the urinary bladder, again in the pelvic cavity. It is 7.5 centimeter long, 5 centimeter broad and 2.5 centimeter thick. You can see that the uterus has been divided into three regions. Here you can see there in the diagram, uterus divided into three regions. The first proximal part of the uterus is called as fundus. This dome-shaped part of the uterus is called as fundus. Then is the body of uterus and last is the cervix. The uterus has been divided into three parts. Proximal part is fundus, central part is body of uterus and distal part is cervix. The first part, that is the fundus, is a dome-shaped region of uterus, is called fundus. Normally, implantation of the embryo occurs in fundus. Implantation means attaching of the embryo with the uterus. Takes place in the fundus. As we all know, in ampulla there is fertilization. That is, the sperm fuses with the ovum. When the sperm fuses with the ovum, it produces zygote. This zygote develops into embryo, and this development of zygote into embryo and then attaching itself to the uterus takes place in the fundus. Then is the body, which is the central part, and last is cervix. The cervix extends into vagina. Cervix has got two openings, one on inner side, one on outer side. Internal OS towards the body, external OS towards the vagina. Internally, the uterine wall. Now here there is the important part that the uterine wall is three layers. Outer part is called perimetrium, middle wall is myometrium, and inner wall is endometrium. Perimetrium is the epithelial layer. Myometrium is a muscular layer made up of smooth muscles, and contraction of these muscles causes labor during the parturition, that is the childbirth. Because when the uterus contracts, then only the child can be delivered out. So this contraction takes place in the myometrium. The innermost part is the endometrium or mucosal membrane. Endometrium is a very important part again because it undergoes changes during the menstrual cycle. Whatever changes you find which takes place in the menstrual cycle all happens in the endometrium. Endometrium is richly supplied with blood vessels and uterine glands, and this is the reason it can provide nourishment to the developing fetus. So developing fetus is provided with nutrition with the help of blood vessels and the uterine gland. Fourth part is vagina. Vagina is a tubular female copulatory organ. Now, penis is said to be the male copulatory organ and vagina is the female copulatory organ. The location of vagina is in between the cervix and the vestibule. This vestibule is said to be the part of vulva which comes under external genitalia. The vaginal wall has inner mucosal lining and middle muscular lining and outer adventitia lining. That is, internally it shows a lining of mucus, in central there are muscles, and outer there is adventitial layer, that is epithelial layer. Mucosal epithelium stores glycogen. It secretes mucus which will be released in the vagina. Opening of the vagina in the vestibule is called vaginal auricle. This vagina opens into external genitalia which includes vestibule. This opening is covered by, now opening of vagina is covered by a fold of mucous membrane called as hymen. Vagina acts as, what is the function of vagina now? Vagina acts as a passage for menstrual flow as well as birth canal during parturition. That is, The menstrual fluid passes out through vagina. The birth of the child also takes place through vagina. So here we end with the parts of internal genitalia. Now let us start with external genitalia. Internal genitalia included pair of ovaries, pair of fallopian tube, uterus and vagina. External genitalia of female include external parts to vagina called as vulva or pudendum. You can just say vulva. It includes vestibule, labia minora, clitoris, labia majora, and mons pubis. Vestibule. It is a middle vertical depression of vulva enclosing urethral and vaginal opening. In simple words, you can say that is the middle depression which shows opening for urine and opening for the menstrual flow, so called as urethral opening and vaginal opening. Then comes labia minora. But before starting with labia minora, I need to tell you labia majora. Labia majora are the two folds of skin, fleshy folds of skin. You can see thick fold of skin, which are homologous to scrotum. Now, why homologous? They are same like that of scrotum. Q, because they protect the external genitalia and also the openings of urethra and vagina. So they are similar to that of scrotum. Inside labia majora, there are labia minora. These are again two folds of skin, but they are thin. So, labia majora, internal to majora is labia minora, and upon labia majora, there is a fleshy elevation, fleshy part called as mons pubis. And this mons pubis region shows pubic hair. So, hair growth is seen on mons pubis. Then is clitoris. This clitoris is said to be corresponding or homologous to penis because it is an erectile organ in female. This organ is present at the anterior end of labia minora and shows a pair of erectile tissue called corpora cavernosa. So as it shows erectile tissue corpora cavernosa, it is called as erectile organ in female. So, vestibule, labia minora, clitoris, majora, and mons pubis are all the organs or external genitalia in female. Then come to associated gland. There is only one associated gland in the female reproductive system, and that is Bartholin's gland. This Bartholin's gland is homologous to Cooper's gland in male. Cooper's gland also called as bulbourethral gland because like Cooper's gland, even Bartholin's gland secretes a lubricating fluid. Now, what is the need of this? इसकी जरूरत क्या है? Lubricating fluid will help easy passage of sperm in the female reproductive tract. Sperm can easily pass. Lubrication is done by the Bartholin's gland. Now, question number 9. Question number 9 shows note on mammary gland. Now, mammary glands, as we have seen earlier, are also a part of external genitalia in females. Mammary glands are the accessory organs of the female reproductive system for production and release of milk after parturition. That is, after the delivery of child, the milk production and release is being done from mammary gland. Development of mammary gland occurs at puberty under the influence of estrogen and progesterone. That is when the female reaches the age of maturity with the help of estrogen and progesterone, there is development of mammary gland. Lactotropic hormone or prolactin. This is the hormone which will be helping in development of lactiferous tubules during the pregnancy. That is when the pregnancy period is on, at that time this hormone called as LPH or prolactin helps in the development of lactiferous tubules which produces milk for the developing fetus. There is a section view of mammary glands. If you take a lateral section of mammary glands, you can see these parts present. Now here again, any four labelings are compulsory. You need not follow all the labelings here. Any four labelings are compulsory. Mammary glands are pair of rounded structures present in the subcutaneous tissue of the anterior thorax in the pectoral region. Now, if you don't remember this entire line, you can just say that mammary glands are a pair of rounded structures which are present in the thorax region. These are modified sweat glands. Each mammary gland contains fatty connective tissue and numerous lactiferous ducts. What they show? Fatty connective tissue and many lactiferous ducts. Glandular tissue of each breast is divided into 15 to 20 irregularly shaped mammary lobes. See what terms you have to remember here is glandular tissue of each breast. Mammary lobes. Mammary lobes contain alveolar glands and lactiferous ducts. Alveolar glands will secrete milk, which will be stored in the lumen of the alveoli. Alveoli open now into mammary tubules. Tubules of each lobe join to form mammary ducts. Many mammary ducts will form mammary ampulla. Mammary ampullas will be connected to lactiferous ducts. These all converge together towards a nipple region located near the tip of the breast. And the region called areola shows a dark brown color portion which surrounds the tip. So, how will you remember this? That mammary gland shows glandular tissue and numerous lactiferous ducts. Glandular tissue of each breast shows mammary lobes. Mammary lobes will have alveolar glands and lactiferous ducts. Alveolar glands will secrete milk and store in the alveoli. This alveoli will open in the mammary tubules to mammary duct to mammary ampulla to lactiferous duct, and lactiferous duct to the tip of the mammary gland. So in this way, you can remember the parts of mammary gland. Now question number 10. Question number 10 is giving an account of puberty in males and females. That is, what do you mean by puberty in males and females? Puberty is the age at which the reproductive system becomes functional. Sex organs begin to produce gametes and sex hormones. In short, you can say that puberty is the maturity period in males and females, where there is development of the sex organs, production of sex gametes, and the sex hormones. Let us start with the puberty or the sexual maturity in males. In males, the onset of puberty occurs at 12 to 15 years under the influence of testosterone. As we know, is the male reproductive hormone. The secondary sexual characters appear. Thereafter, it remains functional throughout the life. Now, secondary sexual characters. What do you mean by this? Secondary sexual characters, as we have seen earlier, while studying the male organs, secondary sexual characters are development of mustache, development of beard, low pitch voice, roughness in the voice, development of hair. All these are what? These are the secondary sexual characters which are seen in males. Puberty, sexual maturity in females. It is characterized by onset of menstrual cycle, also called as menarche, which usually starts when at the age of 10 to 14. The mature female shows cyclic changes in their reproductive system. The menstrual cycle. These cycles continue only up to menopause. As we have studied earlier, they last up to 45 to 50 years of age. The period from menarche to menopause is thus the reproductive age of the female. The female is unable to bear children after menopause. So menarche, menstrual cycle, and menopause are controlled by gonadotropic hormones. And gonadotropic hormones are estrogen, progesterone, follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, etc. I repeat, gonadotropic hormones are estrogen, progesterone, follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, etc. So this is all about the puberty in males and females. Later on, we are going to study the entire process of menstrual cycle which takes place in females. Before starting with the menstrual cycle, let us go through histology of ovary in mature females. As we have seen histology or TS of testes, same here we go with histology or TS of ovary. There is a diagram which shows TS of ovary. Now here you can find that TS of ovary again shows an outer layer. This outer layer in the ovary is also known as tunica albuginea. Albuginea layer is further followed by a layer of germinal epithelium. The following discussion includes the changes seen in the matured ovary, primarily in the cortex, because we know that medulla region shows blood vessels, lymph vessels, and nerves. The different stages of development of oocyte can be seen here. See, like in TS of testis, we have seen different stages of spermatogenesis. In TS of ovary, we are going to show different stages of oogenesis, that is development of ovum. These changes on the ovary are cyclic, occurring during each menstrual cycle. That means it will be repeated in every month in each menstrual cycle. It involves maturation of the primordial follicles into primary, secondary, and Graafian. We know that every primordial follicle gets converted into primary, secondary, and Graafian follicle every month during each menstrual cycle. Each primary follicle has multi-layered cuboidal follicular cells. Now this cuboidal follicular cells, you all know it is called as germinal epithelial cells. The stroma cells add theca over the follicle. See, don't get confused with this part. It's quite simple. Each primary follicle has multi-layered cuboidal follicular cells, same like you can say they are germinal epithelial cells. The stroma cells add theca over the follicle. Theca means a covering over the follicle, and then you can say that it is theca follicle. It now changes into secondary follicle. There is a growth of oocytes. The granulosa cells increase in number. They start producing the hormone estrogen. The secondary follicle grows into Graafian follicle by addition of more follicular cells. As the process of maturation of follicle takes place, they begin to move towards the surface of the ovary. The Graafian follicle presses against the thin wall of the ovary, giving it a blistered appearance. The egg is released from the Graafian follicle during ovulation, and the remaining part of the follicle changes into temporary endocrine gland called corpus luteum. Now, why you call it as temporary endocrine gland? The reason is it produces progesterone only for first 3 months of pregnancy. So it is called as temporary endocrine gland. But if fertilization does not take place, this corpus luteum degenerates into a white scar called as corpus albicans. It breaks down into a white color material called as corpus albicans. Now, as we have shown here, in short, you can understand that primary follicle gets converted to secondary, secondary to Graafian. Primary follicle will have multiple layers of cuboidal follicular cells. Later on, when this multiple layers get divided into 3 to 4 different layers like theca folliculi, zona pellucida, corona radiata, which we'll be studying later on, then it gets converted into a secondary follicle. This secondary follicle will now get a secondary oocyte and granulosa cells will increase in number. When the secondary follicle with a secondary oocyte will undergo meiosis II, then it will be arrested at metaphase and will form a Graafian follicle. So this is all what they are given in short. But when from the Graafian follicle the ovum comes out, then it becomes empty, and this empty Graafian follicle will now form corpus luteum. This corpus luteum will work only if the egg is fertilized, but if the egg is not fertilized, it gets converted into white colored scar called as corpus albicans. So let us go through the structure of a Graafian follicle and the idea will be clear. Graafian follicle, here you can see in the diagram separately. Down. This is a mature Graafian follicle. As we have discussed just now, that there's the oocyte present in the center. This oocyte will be surrounded by a layer called as corona radiata. Before formation of corona radiata, there is formation of zona pellucida, which is not shown here in the diagram. So here there is oocyte, then comes zona pellucida, then is corona radiata, then is theca folliculi. This theca folliculi shows theca externa, theca interna, and a central fluid-filled cavity called as antrum. So when a secondary follicle gets converted into all these parts with a secondary oocyte arrested at metaphase, you say that it is a Graafian follicle. Let's go through the diagram for the TS of ovary given here. Same. Now, a primordial follicle. We have seen that a primordial follicle gets converted into primary follicle. Primary follicle has got a primary oocyte surrounded by many layers of granulosa cells. Later on, oocytes surrounded by granulosa cells get differentiated into many layers like zona pellucida, corona radiata, granulosa cells, theca externa, theca interna, with the antrum filled with a fluid. Then you say that it is a secondary follicle. Now this secondary follicle now enters meiosis 1. When secondary follicle enters meiosis 1, then a primary oocyte gets converted into a secondary oocyte. When a secondary follicle with secondary oocyte enters meiosis 2, then meiosis is not complete. It is arrested at metaphase. It stops at metaphase. So you get a secondary follicle with a secondary oocyte which is arrested at metaphase and then it forms here. This is a Graafian follicle. This Graafian follicle now has got a secondary oocyte arrested at metaphase and this secondary oocyte arrested at metaphase is called as ovum. Now, here this ovum is released out of this Graafian follicle. This process is called as ovulation. In detail, we'll be studying in the next answer. It comes out of the Graafian follicle by ovulation. When this ovum is released out, the Graafian follicle becomes empty. This empty Graafian follicle then becomes corpus luteum. This corpus luteum will produce progesterone, will maintain the pregnancy if the egg is fertilized. But if the egg is not fertilized, which usually occurs in normal cases, if the egg is not fertilized, then this corpus luteum gets converted into corpus albicans. Okay. So here there are two conditions. If egg is fertilized, corpus luteum will carry on with its work of production of progesterone. But if the egg is not fertilized, then it gets converted into corpus albicans. It gets converted into corpus albicans. So let us see the structure of Graafian follicle in detail. Graafian follicle is a mature ovarian follicle. An eccentric secondary oocyte is surrounded by, eccentric means it's not present in the center, it goes towards the periphery, by a non-cellular layer of zona pellucida, secreted by vitelline membrane of oocyte. So you can also say that oocyte surrounded by vitelline membrane, further surrounded by zona pellucida, the outermost protective and fibrous covering called theca externa. Inner to this is theca interna, and theca interna produces the hormone estrogen. Internal to theca interna, the follicular cells form membrana granulosa. Now here this membrana granulosa can be given different names. From the membrana granulosa, the cells differentiate into discus florigerus and corona radiata. Discus florigerus can also be called as cumulus oosporus. Cumulus oosporus is a term used for oocyte and the surrounding granulosa cells. So now you have got a oocyte surrounded by vitelline membrane, surrounded by zona pellucida, further surrounded by corona radiata, then surrounded by membrana granulosa, and a fluid-filled antrum present in the central. And this fluid is called as Leaker follicule. So this entire structure shows a matured Graafian follicle. And this Graafian follicle has got a secondary oocyte present in it.